I want to thank you all. Thank you, Seth, very much for that generous introduction, and to your wife for the generous. She must need glasses, you are. I almost feel like with the talk about Adam West and Seth's legs that I should say something about people's legs, but I think I'll skip that in the speech. And I want to thank David O. for organizing this and all the people that have organized this dinner. Can you hear us in the back there? All right, you have to read about it tomorrow, I guess. But I also want to thank Vi. You know, Vi, that was a moving story that he told, and those are stories of soldiers, American soldiers in World War II. When you hear it, it really captures the greatness of our country, a country that has only sent forth its army to help other people, to do good for other people. And although Vi is not a paratrooper, anybody that saw him on the football field knows that he would have had no problem jumping out of airplanes. Because if you could catch those balls and run upfield with those guys coming down at you, you wouldn't be afraid of an airplane. But I want to congratulate Danny Bozak and Justice McCaffrey, our honorees tonight. Danny, as you know, in addition to being a paratrooper, is a leader in organized labor and a big part, along with Hank Hajak and Ed McMokin, for why this is such a strong chapter of the 82nd Airborne Association. I want to thank him for all he's done for working families, but also for veterans, both young and old, organizing honor guards to march in parades, and organizing honor guards to appear at funerals for fallen soldiers, and raising money for the families of wounded soldiers. So thank you, Danny, for that. Justice McCaffrey, as one of my sergeants used to say, he's a hell of a man if you read this program. He was a decorated police officer, homicide detective, municipal court judge. I had the challenge of appearing in front of him as an assistant district attorney. You better be ready if you're in his courtroom. He was a superior court judge and now a justice of the Supreme Court. But if you really want to be impressed by Justice McCaffrey, you should note that he is being honored tonight by a group of Army paratroopers, despite the fact that he served in not only the Marines, but also the Air Force. And all of you know, it is very hard for us to say nice things about the Marines and the Air Force. But it is not hard for us to say nice things about Justice McCaffrey. He has done, like Danny, much for his country. He also has a brother who was in the Army, so that's a little bit of a saving grace. But he has done a tremendous amount for veterans. You all may have seen in the Philadelphia Inquirer today the article about the Veterans Court, which was presided over by our very own Judge Dugan. And I think that more than any other public servant in Pennsylvania, Justice McCaffrey is responsible for us having a Veterans Court, which is so important to identify and help veterans who find themselves caught up in the criminal justice system. So thank you, Justice McCaffrey, for that. We're also here today to honor the airborne soldier, the American paratrooper. But before I talk about the American paratrooper, I would like to say something about the other branches of the service: the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the Coast Guard. Well, enough about them. Let's talk about the... I got a Navy captain over here, so I have to be a little bit careful. He outranks me. But I want everybody at this point, I want you to close your eyes. Go ahead, close your eyes. Nothing's going to happen. And picture yourself in a C-130 Hercules aircraft at dark 30 over some godforsaken drop zone. Get ready! Stand up! Hook up! Check your equipment! So this is the paratrooper. This is what the paratrooper does. He jumps out of an airplane while in flight. But we know that the paratrooper is much more than that. We know that we know what the paratrooper looks like in our mind. The glider patch, now replaced by the beret. Maroon for the 82nd, green for the Special Forces, and tan for the Rangers. Their trousers are bloused, jump boots, spit shine, silver wings on their chest, and the swagger. With the swagger comes complete disdain for all that are not airborne. Any soldier that is not airborne, we call the leg. Now here in this part of my speech, I had about 6 pages going after legs. But when I practiced it in front of my wife, she was horrified. She said, "You can't read that speech with other people in it with legs in the room." So I'll move on. The swagger comes from the pride, which comes from the history of the paratrooper. Paratrooper is relatively new to warfare, having only been deployed in the Second World War. But in the short time that we've had paratroopers, history is thick with heroes. We have one of them with us here tonight. The 82nd had General Jumpin' Jim Gavin. He, for many of us, epitomized the paratrooper. He was an orphan, raised by a Pennsylvania coal miner and his family in Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania. General Gavin was the youngest general in his 30s to command a division during the Second World War. While other generals carried pistols and rode around in the back of jeeps, General Gavin carried a rifle and participated in every combat jump that he asked his soldiers to participate in, often leading the way out of the airplane. It was his example and his training that inspired young paratroopers who were spread all over Normandy and detached from their units to band together and move to the sound of the guns and join the fight to begin what became the victory in World War II. We all know about the colonel from the 101st Airborne Division, who, when surrounded by Germans and asked to surrender, replied with one word: nuts, and we went on to defeat the Germans at that battle. We all know about the soldier who, at the Battle of the Bulge, told a tank commander to get behind him and his foxhole because he was the 82nd Airborne Division, and that was as far as the bastards were going to go. We know about the devils in baggy pants. My father was a paratrooper. He served in the 503rd and the 505th. He named my older brother Gavin because he was born at Womack Army Hospital, and he did so in honor of General Gavin, and received a letter from the general himself congratulating him on the birth of his son. That tape you just heard is part of an album that my father played relatively frequently when I was growing up.